Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 6, verse number 2. These are teachings of Prahlad Maharaj to his classmates. So as we read yesterday that he was in the school, again this is the third time, because his father tried to kill him, it was not successful. Therefore, he was advised to put him back in the school so that they can try to deprogram him. And they were teaching him about Artha, Kama, Dharma, all this polity and material life. But he was not happy with that, as we read. Na sadhu mene tat shiksha. He did not consider this education as appropriate and was not happy with it. So one day he got a chance when the teachers were busy in their some household affairs, and he called all the students and he started lecturing to them straight, without any question. Nobody asked him. So usually one should not give instruction unless one is asked, because instructions are things which are given most freely, and they are also the ones which are rejected most freely. So why waste? Most people already know so many things which they do not follow. So why burden them with more? So unless one is inquisitive, because if one is not hungry and you give food to that person, then it doesn't have much value. If someone is very hungry, then he will appreciate if you give jalebi to him, right? Very happy. So in the same way, knowledge is appreciated by someone who is looking for it. Otherwise, so many preaching going on, so many things available on the net, but still people are saying. So important thing is in following, but in case of Prahlad, he wanted to impress the children, because although they are not inquisitive, but they are free to hear, and he knows that the children can be impressed. This is the age where they can accept things, because their intellect is not highly developed, and children are very eager to hear. So therefore he decided to teach them. We read the first verse where he says that one should understand this human life is very rare, very important, and take advantage of this. So in the second verse, Yathahi Purushashriya Vishnu Padok Sarpanam Yadesha Sarvbhutanam Priya Atma Ishwarasvi. So why we have to worship Vishnu, why we have to worship Krishna, why we have to approach him, he gives a logic for this. Because logic is appealing to rational mind. And he says because he is actually the object of everybody's love. So we naturally love if we happen to know him. Or in other words, any attachment which we have, ultimately we have it because Vishnu is behind it. Because he is the source of everything. And he is what gives beauty or attraction to anything. So as in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna speaks about his Vibhuti Yoga. So he describes there that whatever you think is attractive, that is actually me. Yadyad vibhutim achattam srimad ujitam evavam tattadeva avgachattam antajavancha sambhavam. So we do not know this. We think that we are becoming attracted to some particular person or some particular object or some beauty. But actually that attraction is only to God. There is no other beauty in anything without Him. But because we are not aware of it, so that's where the problem comes. The problem is only this much. The problem is not in objects. The problem is only to become attached to them without awareness of God. If we are aware of God, then the same object will actually liberate you instead of binding you. So that's why it says Yadesha Sarvabhutanam Priya Atmeshwara Suhit. So Lord Krishna, He showed this in His Rajlila here, how He is the object of love in His pastime. Basically that is the purpose of His appearance. So Sri Vishnu Chakravarti, he comments, says Bhagavata dharman kena prakarena acharet iti apekshayamaha. So in the previous verse he says that one should follow the Bhagavad dharma. Kamara acharat pragyo dharman bhagavatani, that one should follow devotional principles. So question is asked that how one has to follow them. So he says that one has to follow so that one can attain Krishna. Yena prakarena Vishnu padyor upsanipe sarpanam praptir bhavet tatha. So in other words, just as when you are on the highway, then the purpose of highway is not that you just go on driving on it, but you have to reach your destination. So it is a means to reach your destination. In the same way, the principles have a purpose to bring you to God. They are like the highway which lead you. So therefore, dharma has to be followed. You have to always see whether this is bringing me close to God or it is taking me away from God. That's what we have to see. So many times this question comes that we have to follow principles, we have to be truthful, we have to be non-violent, all these types of things. But we have to see whether by doing that you come close to God or you are going away from it. That is the test. Is it bringing you more awareness of God or you are getting forgetfulness? Even if you are performing some ritual or some yajna or some activity. So savai punsham paro dharma yato bhakti radokshaya. That is actually the supreme dharma which brings you devotion. Because devotion and God are one. Wherever there is devotion, there is God. So that is the purpose. Therefore it says yatha hi purushasya Vishnu pada upsarpanam. That this Bhagavad dharma is that which brings you close to God. So that's very important to know. Yadasmad, so why we have to come to Him? So tameva prakaram chaturvidham vyanjanam Vishnum Vishnasti. So there are 4 ways that you can approach Him. Yadasmadeva priya ityadi. Yashamaham priyatma supasya sakha guru suhido devanishtam. Ili Bhagavad-ukti pramanyana. This is a statement from 3rd Canto. We already read it. That I am dear, I am the self, I am the son, friend, teacher, worshipable, everyone. So these are Kanta Bhav, Shanti, Rati, Dasya Bhav, Sabhavanam Madhye Yen Bhavena Upsarpitum Gachet, Tenaiva Upsarpayan Bhagavatam Dharma Rajapet. So there are two types of following the principles of bhakti. One is samanya, normal, and one is with a specific mood or relationship. That I am servant of God, I am a friend of God, I am a lover of God. So with this, he says that one should follow this Bhagavatam Dharman Acharit Rag Bhakta Vapi Vidhir Vyanyita. So this is what Rag Bhakti is, Raganuga. This is a specific relationship. In all the Raganuga there is no injunction, but it is indicated here. आत्मतुल्यत्वाद आत्मा सुत इति तंत्रेण उक्त्या पंचैव भाव प्रहलादेन उपदिष्टा इति. Or he says that the word Atma here refers to sun, and therefore there are 5 bhavas or moods which Prahlad has indicated in this statement. So now the question will come that if we perform devotional service, then what about enjoying? We want happiness, we want to enjoy. So what will happen to this? That means we should not do anything to get happiness, right? Or do we have to divide our time, that we do a little bit of puja in the morning and then we work to make money so that we can be happy? So what is he saying? So he says that don't worry about happiness.
Don't worry.
Because if you worry, how can you be happy? So he says, Sukham Mandriyakam Datya Deha Yogena Dehinam Sarvatra Labhyate Daivad Yatha Dukkham Yatnataha. So this is one of the themes which keeps repeating here in Bhagavatam. And this is something which is very difficult to swallow. He says that, oh Datya, he's calling his friends Datya because they are Datyas. He says, oh demons. He is also. He says that this sense pleasure, Andriyakam Sukham, means that happiness which you get from your senses, eating nice food or listening to good music. He says, Deha Yogena Dehinam. It comes because of our body. We have a body, and then from body we get this pleasure. So he says that this will come to you anyway. So you don't have to work for this. And then he gives a logic for that. That is to be understood. He says, Yatha Dukkham Ayatnata. He said, just like suffering comes to us, we don't work for it. Right?
I don't know. Sometimes maybe I do.
So he said just...
Sometimes maybe we do work for this.
No, we work for happiness, we get suffering. We don't say that I am doing it so that I will be miserable. Right? So we work for happiness and we end up in suffering. So he said just like suffering comes without making an effort, then happiness will also come without making an effort. This you should experiment. Yeah, this is something you should test whether it really works or not. There was one man, he was very learned, renounced, and he did not want money. So So he got a dream, and in the dream Lakshmi Devi appeared to him. Lakshmi Devi is the goddess of wealth. So she told him that I want to bless you. And this man said, please go away, I don't need your blessings. Just leave me alone. And she said, no, you cannot avoid me. He says, no, I don't want you. So she said, okay, let me see how you avoid me. So next day he got up in the morning and he said that I want to really do something so that I never get any money and I get into trouble. So he went to the king. In India there were kings and every day they will sit in the court, people come, any problem they have. So he went, he approached the king, and since he was learned, so the king respected him, brought him and asked him how you are. So he said, I'm fine. And then he went near the king and he gave him a big slap. So he thought that if I slap the king, then definitely I am in trouble. And he is going to put me in prison. And then where is the question that I can get money? Because anywhere else there is some possibility that you can get some wealth, but if you are in prison, how can you get money in prison? Especially if you go and slap the king himself, he will be under tight security that you don't run away. So king was taken aback by this and he was very surprised and actually shocked. So when he slapped him, he had a big crown on his head. His even crown fell down. It was such a slap. And really? So his ministers, his attendants, they came running and they got hold of this man. Says, who is this fellow? But actually when the crown fell down, then they saw that inside the crown there was a snake sitting. And they understood that if you would not have slapped him, then the snake will bite him. So the king thought that this man is really intelligent. And he really knows the tattva. So he honored him and he said that give him a lot of money. He has saved my life. So he came home, but what can he do now? He had this baby. And then Lakshmi again appeared in the dream. So she asked him, so what happened? You were trying to avoid me? So the Brahmana said, yes, I failed. But I will try harder. I will not give up so easily. So next day he again went to the court. And he thought that today I will really do something more than this. So now king already is in awe and reverence with him. But he went and he caught hold of the leg of the king and he pulled him off his seat and threw him down. So everybody is surprised that what is this? This fellow yesterday came and he slept, today is playing. So some people thought that maybe something good is coming from this also. And others, as a servant of the king, they have to run to protect him. So the king, he actually fell off, and when he fell off, then above the throne there was this big canopy, and this fell off. And then the king realized that if I would have been sitting, then this would have fallen on my head. So this person really seems to be helping me. So he said that please make arrangement for him to live in the palace. I really need him. So he was given a very nice apartment in the palace and servants and help, and then at night again Lakshmi Devi appeared. So then this man said that I surrender to you and no more, I don't want to try anymore. So the thing is that Prahlad is saying that Sukham Indriyakam Datya Deha Yogena Dehinam Sarvatra Labhyate Daivat. So because your karma is going with you wherever you go, and if you have to get some happiness, you will get it, and if you have to get some suffering, you will also get it. That of course does not mean that we make special effort to become miserable. So we don't make plan to get material happiness, and we also don't make plan to get any material suffering. What we act is on Bhagavad Dharma. We should just do devotional service, bhakti to the Lord. That's all we should do, and this happiness and suffering, whatever has to come, will come anyway. So we see that even very rich people, they suffer. Sometimes if you see them closely, then their family life is a mess. Outside they may look very good and they may have nice facility, but in their family there is no peace. There is quarrel, fighting, and or they have some disease which is troubling them. Just because one has money does not mean that one cannot fall sick. There is this big industrial house in India called Birla, you might have heard. And the owner of this Birla, now you have this Aditya, cement is very popular. There was actually Aditya Birla, or maybe it was his father. This was in the 90s. He went to America and there he got malaria. And the doctors could not treat him. They could not even diagnose him that he has malaria, because in America they don't get malaria. And he died. So such a rich person, you cannot say that he did not have the facility to treat himself. And malaria, which in India I think everybody gets it. I don't know anyone who has not experienced malaria in India. And he goes it and he gets it in America, where you have the best medical facilities, and he dies there in the hospital. And then if he would have been in India, they would have cured him. Because in India probably that is the first thing they would have suspected, that he has malaria. But in America they didn't think that he has malaria. They kept on trying other medicine, thought he had just a fever, some viral fever, this, that, and he died. So sometimes it's very strange how things happen. So this is what Prahlad is saying, that in your life, don't plan for material upliftment, plan for spiritual upliftment. Our time and our opportunities, they are very limited, because everybody does not get this opportunity even to hear this. So we should be very cautious and very prudent in using our time and our facilities, because material happiness you will get anyway. Whatever is in stock for you, you will get it. Many people, they do business, not everybody becomes successful. Some become very easily successful and some work very hard and still they don't become successful. Because there is something called Daiva. So that does not mean that I am saying that you become fatalistic and just depend on your fate and don't do anything. That is different thing. I am not saying don't do anything, I am saying that do not work for material pleasure. This is what everyone is working for. You work for love of God, bhakti, devotion. And in the process, whatever happiness you have to get, you will get it. And as far as suffering, and he gives a very nice example. He says the sufferings come, we don't plan for them, we don't do anything for them, still they come, everybody experiences. So he said just as they come, the other happiness will also come. If you are supposed to get good food, you will get it. If you are supposed to starve, you will starve even when the food is there. Maybe you will get diarrhea and doctor says don't eat. Or you get some other problem. So this is a very interesting point which he makes. Sukbhogartham udyamastu manusham deham prapya na kartavya. So very clear. He says that don't make any effort for gaining material pleasure. Straightforward statement, no confusion. Why? Because this will come. Deha yogena sukh dukhe deha dharma eva. Says as long as you have this physical body, these two things will come to you. Sometimes happiness, sometimes suffering. 50 people eat the same food, one person gets diarrhea. Other 49 they don't. So it happens. So sarvatra pashvadavopi. He says even among the animals, it's not only for human beings. You see the dogs here in India and you have seen the dogs in America. Right? What a difference. In India, so he died a dog's by death, or he is living like a dog. We have to use an adjective. We have to say he is living like an Indian dog. Because American dogs don't live like this. They are quite happy. They are having a royal life because the master is serving them. It's difficult to figure out who is the master. So the master says, I'm taking a dog for a walk, right? Is he taking the dog for a walk, or the dog is taking him for a walk? Because without the dog he will not go for a walk. So it is the dog who is taking him for a walk. And the man is thinking that he is taking it. That's his illusion. So he thinks that the dog is in his hand, and dog is thinking other way around. He is thinking that he is in my control, because he can leave the dog and dog will run around, but the man will run behind the dog, not the other way around. So who is tied to whom? So therefore he says that don't make any effort for this. This is intelligence. Tat prayaso na kartavyo yatar ayurvaya param na tatha vindate kshenam mukunda charanam bhujam. So again he repeats it more clearly. He says tat prayaso na kartavyo. He says don't make any effort for it. Prayasa means effort. Don't do any effort for this. Why? He says that is a waste of your time. Yata ayu vyaya param. He says not only waste of your time, but waste of your valuable time. He says you are wasting your life, which is so precious. Jeevan, जीवन अमोल है, हीरा जन्म अमोल है, कौड़ी बदले जाए. that our life is precious like diamond and we are throwing it for a piece of stones. So it is very precious. One man was on the street, he had no money and he was lamenting and crying, oh I'm poor, I have nothing, my life is a waste. He wanted to commit suicide. So one man caught him and said, why you want to kill yourself? He said, I'm so unfortunate, I don't have anything. He says, you are such a rich fellow, why you say you don't have anything? So he took him to another man and he said that this person wants to buy your eye for $10,000, will you give? And he says, no. So then he says, why you think that you are poor? Because every limb we have in our body is very precious. But as I said yesterday, that whatever we possess, we don't value that unless we lose it. If I lose my one eye, then I realize the importance of eye. So therefore he says that Ayurveda Param, because with this human life I can attain God. You are trying to attain a little bit of matter, but you can attain God who is the source of the universe. Not one universe, millions of universes. So what a pitiable waste that I am working hard just to get little material opulence when actually you can have the very owner of this whole universe. So that's what he is referring to. He says, don't do that. Na tatha vindate kshemam mukunda charanam. Why? One may say, well, I will be satisfied with this. So what's your problem? Because those who want to argue, they will argue anyway. He says, what is there? I am happy with my house. He says, you are happy, but this is not permanent. He says, the type of happiness which you will get by attaining the feet of Mukunda, Krishna, that is not the happiness you will attain by anything material. And even whatever you attain is temporary. That is the thing. Therefore it says, Kshemam. Kshemam means which is unchanging. So actually this happiness which comes from devotion to God, this happiness which comes from love for God, is something which we have not experienced. If you can get even theoretical idea about it, you will lose interest in everything else. It is such a supreme thing, such a wonderful thing, that if you can just get a little smell of it, like sometimes somebody is cooking and you're passing by and you get a smell, right? And immediately the mouth is watering. So if you can get a little smell of this devotion to God, then your mouth, everything will start watering. You'll forget everything. So this is something which we have to work for. Tasyeva heto prayate tako vido nalabhyate brahmitam priyadhai. Sri Narada, he told this to Vyas that Tasyeva heto prayate tako vido. It's like he says, don't work for this material pleasure. He said that you should work only for that one thing. And that is prema, love. He says don't work for anything else. The only thing which is worth acquiring in our life is love. And nothing else. Everything else will come and go. So this love for God, love for Krishna, this is what we should strive for. And this should be the aim of our life. This should be the purpose of life. And this is the only proper utility of this human body. So that is Prahlad's, and he speaks from his own experience. He's not just repeating somebody's words. because you saw that he experienced it. That's why nothing could disturb him. Even Hiranyakashipu could not disturb him. He was so steeped in this love that he did not. So whatever suffering was supposed to come to him, it came, but he didn't get disturbed by it. He did not work for it, it came. He didn't want to work for material pleasure. Yet he will get the kingdom. So tatha tena prakarena kshemam na vindate. So this pleasure, this happiness, this bliss which you get from devotion to God, that is much superior. There is no comparison. We use the same word because there is no other word. For material happiness and spiritual happiness, the word is same. Happiness. But actually these are two separate things. One is a material energy, other is a spiritual energy. And there is absolutely no comparison. It's like if you want to compare 1 with 0. And I ask you that how many zeros you can add and it will make you 1. Or how many times I multiply this 0 that it will become 1. No, 0 is a separate category and 1 is a separate category. And 0 can never become 1. No matter how many more zeros you add to it, it will remain 0. So material pleasure is like that. And spiritual pleasure, which is love of God, that is like 1. So that's why Rupa Goswami, he says in Bhakti that even if you multiply the material pleasure by millions of times, it cannot compare to 1 drop of bliss of devotion. So that is the meaning. So then what one has to do? First he speaks in negation, that you should not do this, don't do this, and then he explains what should be done. So prohibition and prescription. Tato yateta kushlaha shevaya bhavashritaha shariram parusham yavan navipadyeta kuskalam. So therefore he says that as long as you are having this life which is always full of fear, we have all types of anxieties and fears coming from different sides. Especially the modern life is full of anxiety. So he says that as long as you have this body and before it is eaten up by death or it becomes completely useless by disease, then an intelligent person should make use of this for his or her ultimate welfare, Shema. And that ultimate welfare is Prema. So Prema is our real Shema. Shema means welfare. So real welfare is in Prema, Krishna's love. So that is the purpose, that is the only purpose. It says, Tato yateta kushalaha shemaya bhaimashuta. That although we have fear means we can die anytime, that is a fear. We can lose this life anytime. Or even if we don't lose, we can get all types of diseases. Suddenly one can get paralyzed. Our body is very fragile. Till the time it is functioning, It looks very nice, but actually it is very vulnerable. Anything can happen to it. Small little bacteria, virus, amoeba in the intestine, it can trouble you so much. You don't even see it. So therefore I say that as long as you have sense in your head and some energy in your body, then make an effort only for this purpose. And don't waste time. Bhayam ashrita iti hari bhajana bhave sthanat bhrashta patanti adhati bhayam sutva. Otherwise what will happen? That whatever position you have, you will fall down from that. Avajananti, na bhajanti avajananti, sthanat bhrashta patanti adha. So, and then there will be only fear. So, Ved bhaktau vidhiruktaha pushkalam jararogadi abhavat tushtam yat samartham. So now our body has some strength, some energy in it, therefore make use of this. That is intelligence. So he is explaining quite logically, step by step. Now he explains the life. He says, Punsho varsha shatam hi ayus tadartham chajitatmanaha nisvalam yada sauratriyam shetendham prapitastamah. So he says, okay, let's assume that you live for 100 years. Although not everybody lives for 100 years. But let's assume that you are quite healthy and you live 100 years. That is the prescribed lifespan in Kali Yuga. That one can live 100 years. So he says, what happens? Out of that, you sleep at night. So 8 hours, 10 hours. So 1/3 of life goes in sleeping. Right? So 1/3 is gone. Here you do nothing except turning your sides. So he says it's just like groping in the darkness, like you are blind and you are in the darkness. Andham prapitattam. So that 1/3 serves no purpose. You don't do anything. So you are quiet, or some people talk also when sleeping. Or at least snore. And don't let others sleep. So, but nothing useful is done. So, muddhasya balya kaumare kiridato yati vinshatihi jaryagrastha dehasya yati kalpasya vinshati. Then he says, first 20 years as a child and as an adolescent, he says, you don't have much intelligence, because these days people are getting intelligent quite fast. So we have to reduce this 20 to maybe now 12 or something. Right? Just yesterday, day before yesterday, there was a news that there was one girl, 12-year-old. She gave birth to a baby, and the father is 13-year-old. And the mother of the girl is 26. So she is already grandmother at 26. So people are very active. Because he says that till you are 20, you are not very intelligent, you don't know much. You are just spending your time in playing around, texting, right? Sending messages. And the last 20 years, if you have to live 100 by the time you are 80, then body becomes weak and then you don't do much. So it's only this period in between 20 and 80, 60 years. And out of 60 years, you remember that at least 1/3 is sleeping. So how much is remaining? 40. And out of that 40, then you go to school and college and degree and then job and marriage, children, and in between some sickness. So where is the time left? So if you want to make a balance sheet of your life and see how much actually active time you have, where you can make decision and do something, and not much is remaining. So this is what he is trying to explain here. So how much time is remaining for doing some chanting, some kirtan? Very little time left. So durapurena kamena mohena cha baliyasa shesham grihesu shaktasya pramattasya piyatihi. So now in between what time is remaining, what he does, what the person does, man or woman, whoever, he says they are very much occupied with their desires. So the word used is kamena and mohena. That they have kama, the word kama means desire and kama also means sex. So this is the very prominent thing in the mind of people who are in this age group. And now this age group, it's not only this age group, but it has extended, because now people are doing it even before, I guess, much earlier and much later. So therefore he says, and this is durapena, it is never satisfying. No one says I had enough of sex and now I don't need it. So everybody remains dissatisfied with it. And then you're always wanting more and more and more and different varieties, different ways. But there is no satisfaction. So it says durapurena, means this desire which is never satisfied. And this is the biggest occupation for the mind. Mind is very much absorbed in these thoughts of sexual activity. And this is mohena, it is very bewildering. How it captivates and captures. And baliyasa is very powerful, strong, very strong in a way. So then this is how the life actually goes. People's life is gone like that. Sesam grihesu shaktasya, therefore he says people remain attached to house. House here means this only, this relationship, it doesn't mean some building, not just a word. And pramattasya apmati, therefore he says that these people are pramatta. This word mad in English, in Sanskrit you have the word mada. From that you have matta, pramatta, unmatta. Various types of madness in Sanskrit, they have different names. There is matta, pramatta, unmatta. So various types of madness. So this is one type of madness. So people have very strong desire, and that makes the person completely mad. And he's mad after that. That's why I say he's mad after this. So then they cannot think of anything else. Day and night the mind is occupied with that. And this is how the life goes on. So therefore he says that you better start early in life, before the mind is captivated. Because once the energy becomes activated, then it's very difficult to control. When it is there, and if you take to spiritual life at early age, then this energy can be kept under control. Then you can sublimate it. It can be spiritualized. But now there is no such thing as control. There is no concept of celibacy anymore. People think it is bad for health. That's what students are taught. Sex is good and celibacy will make you crazy. And he says that it is the other way around. He is calling them as crazy. So now there is no training for this. Previously they were trained that how to. So there is nothing wrong with sex or sexual energy, but instead of this energy controlling you, you should control it. But that is not being taught. So everybody is free sex, free union, and then all kinds of problems. Interesting news I read that in America, 1 out of 5 women get raped. It's very surprising. People don't know. So why is that? When still so much open? Because this energy is like that, it doesn't care. There is no end of it. That's why it says Durape.
I also read that rate is higher than India. The 20% rape in America, that percentage is higher than what happens in India.
Yeah, I don't know how much is in India, but I was very surprised. I thought America will not be so high. So this is because there is no control. So much porn is available on internet. Everywhere. It's amazing. So this is the madness which he is talking about. That this human life which actually meant. And the thing is that it's good if you feel satisfied with it. But you don't feel satisfied and relations are broken and everybody is cursing each other. One day I was searching about karma. So I thought, let me search web for karma. Then I went on one site and there were many articles on it. So I became interested. All articles written by girls and everything how the boyfriend dissed them. That was the only story, and this bastard is going to get, the karma will not leave him, or something actually happens to the boyfriend and the girl is enjoying that now see what happened, he went into a relationship with this another girl and then she dissed him. So this is the whole karma story going on. Very interesting. Only about this topic. So this is what madness is talking about. So, and then actually they also have no control. So this goes on like that. When I was teaching at Rutgers, I was staying at Purushottam's house. So one day I watched TV. They had a program there, some kind of a reality show. I forget the name of the program. So the program is that these people, they do some investigation about the relations, and then they call the husband and wife together, and then they reveal. Then the wife does not know what the husband is doing, and then they come together and the wife is told, and the wife is asking question, and then they're fighting, and then she starts beating him right there on the stage, and then they have this heavy guy who comes in between and he's also getting slapped. So all kinds of things. So even those people who are married, they are not satisfied and they are having some other affair. So this is what he calls as durapure. So as Krishna says that this is big eater, duspurena and lenacha. It's like fire. Najatu kamanam upabhogena samyati. Havisha vartambhuvaiva punar eva vivartate. So just like you have fire, so this desire, sexual desire is like the fire. And by having sex, it's like pouring more fuel into it. So it becomes more intense. Because it creates samskara, deep samskara in you. And then that samskara starts controlling you and you want more and more and more and more. So that is the meaning of durapurena. Not getting satisfied with it. So tatra krishnam bhajayaditi vivekatvapi bhajana samarthya. So he says therefore the solution only is performing devotional service. There is no other solution for it. Because when you will get this higher taste, as I said that people only know this lower pleasure. But if they will get an idea that there is something which is so wonderful, then you will not have interest in it. You will become free from this. And you will relish that. So here you have to always remain dependent on others, that is coming from a higher source. And all the time you are happy and blissful. So that's the solution which Prahlad is giving here. I will stop if there is any question on this.
You mentioned two types of following principles of Bhakti. And one was first was the relationship with God, and the second one?
Yeah, one is to have a specific relationship with God, like God is my friend or God is my master.
And the second one?
Other is just there is God and He's there and He's everything. Tameva mata cha pita tameva. You know this slogan?
Yeah, I know.
So you are my father, you are my mother, you are my wealth, you are my everything. So there is no specific relationship.
Ah, okay. No specification. Why do I have another question about this sexual thing? Why there are still so many also devotees who actually know the eternal goal and they know that they have to achieve Krishna and this is the main thing, but still they become brahmacharis and then they even have probably tasted it already, but they fall apart.
Yeah, that happens because of not following properly. See, just like there are two things. One is to take the proper road, right? You have to go to your destination. So first you have to catch the right highway. If you get the wrong highway, you won't reach there anyway. That is first thing. Second thing is that even when on the highway, you have to drive properly. Otherwise you can meet an accident. So they have taken to devotion path, they have chosen the right highway, that is very good. But now they have to follow it properly. And if you don't follow properly, then you cannot have trouble in that. So that's why one has to know this. So that's why it says Bhagavatam Dharma, then this Bhagavatam Dharma, this Bhagavad Dharma, he will explain this more what it is. So that has to be studied. So the path, like you go on highway, before you go on highway you have to know how to drive. Just because you're on the highway, you can be in big trouble.
Usually you don't know before you enter this.
Right? But on the spiritual path, people enter without knowing.
Yeah.
So that is the discrepancy in the example. On the highway, they won't let you go there unless you have really practiced driving. But in spiritual life, anybody can from anywhere jump in without any training. It needs training also.
And what if you fall apart? What if you, let's say, you fell from your path and then you still have a possibility
No, yeah,
to...
the possibility is always there. There is no eternal damnation here, that go to eternal hell. You fall apart, you get up and
Try once more.
learn from your experience. Find out what is the wrong thing I did, what mistake I made. Okay, I have another class now, so stop.